Sup, playa? Welcome to the week. We're here for our anchor message, and I mixed it up a little bit. I went to reach for our tarot deck for today, and the Winged Enchantment was calling, and that's my deck that's like an oracle deck based on bird messengers. So I always say, like, the birds were chirping, and they wouldn't leave me alone. I even reached for the other deck and like pulled it out, and the birds were like, no, it's us today, like, we have something to say. And so I went and pulled our card, and it was so perfect. We got duck. But before we get into the message, I'm just full of life. I went to my nephew Noah's birthday party today. He was turning 8, and he had a little blow up pool. It was actually kind of a big blow up pool, and then they had a big blow up like water slide thing. And I was like, man, when we were little, we had to make do with that like 3-foot long piece of like green plastic slip and slide where you just really just run and then throw yourself into the ground. And then if you're lucky, you'll slide on a wet piece of plastic through this like very exciting thing that's supposed to look like an alligator, but it's kind of like these strips of plastic that also sort of look like a car wash. And you like, the exciting commercial would show these kids like sliding so fast, like through the plastic, like into this little blow up pool. But the real experience was just getting a running start, throwing yourself into the ground, and then you kind of scoot a little bit. And if you get up any momentum, then the plastic just slaps really hard on the face, and you get grass in your underpants, and you just kind of like slide past the pool over into the ground, and then it makes kind of like a mud puddle, and it gets uncomfortable and gross. This party was much better. It was much better. They had like these nice big blow up pools that were fun. But yeah, my nephew Noah, I got really choked up on the way to the party because I remembered I was driving past the hospital that he was born at, and I remembered driving to that hospital the first time to see him when he was born and holding him, and he looked up at me and smiled, and he was only a couple of hours old, and I just broke because he's so precious. He was born with Down syndrome, and he also has autism, and he was such an angel, and I just loved him so much from the moment. And when he just smiled up at me, I just connected with his soul, and I just knew like he had such a purpose in our life, and he was such an angel, and he was so perfect, and he was just so wise. He just seemed like, his vibe was the child, Yoda, the baby Yoda, like Grogu. Like that's Noah's vibe. Like he was totally Grogu. And so, I don't know, I just got so choked up just thinking about his little angel face. And he's 8, and he's becoming a big boy, and it's just, bittersweet. But we had pizza as a family, and it was not very humid, and it was nice. And yeah, me and my brother and sister threw a frisbee and kind of walked around our woods and reminisced a bit. And we all kind of partied later than we thought. It was like a big old 8:45 when we all said goodbye. So it was a good time. It was a good day. But we got duck. It was a nice, tranquil day at the end of what I know many people told me has been a very heavy few weeks. And this last week or two have culminated in so many huge sort of boiling points, and come to a head in so many ways, and climax, and had these big finishes for so many people in so many different ways. And a lot of the people that I've talked to, it wasn't just like kind of like one thing happening. It was like several that just were sort of back to back. And then that was coupled in with, I think, Father's Day this year. There was something so intense about the father wound coming up for healing during that time, and after the, eclipse season and things. And it was heavy for a lot of people, and I was feeling it. I definitely was not feeling super warm towards my dad tonight at this event. I was just trying to set the healthy boundary and maintain my distance. But yeah, it's just very difficult with him. But my mom and I had a good time together. It was very nice. very nice, and the rest of the family did too. But I remember, like, earlier in the year when I did the 2022 predictions, I do remember, and I just haven't had time to go back and watch to see which ones it was, but there were a couple of months that it was like there was going to be a month that was like really centered around father healing and really centered around mother healing, which is interesting because tomorrow's new moon is in Cancer, and Cancer is like the mother of the zodiac. And so this, you know, the next couple of weeks, I feel like could have a lot of mother healing involved with that. But I feel like we already did a lot of heavy mother unpacking. So maybe, you know, we're in sort of a tranquil phase with our mothers finally. And maybe we've come to the other side of a lot of emotional processing. And so just brace yourself for just in case. But I feel like, yeah, a lot of us have just really come through a lot of unloading and a lot of unpacking. A lot of like maybe old stored buried things have been coming up for a lot of us, and maybe things that we're learning about or seeing in ourselves and exploring for the first time. And so that is heavy lifting. It really is. And so we, you know, people always say, be gentle with yourself. You need a lot of self-care during those times. And it's true, you really do. I've been doing a lot of hypnotic neural reprogramming through the To Be Magnetic challenge. And like yesterday, I did my exercise, the DI, this hypnotic kind of meditative thing. And it was so powerful. Like, I got in so deep that it was actually like, I felt things unblocking in my chest. Every time I'd lay down to do these exercises the last few weeks, it was like I would be fine. And then as soon as I assumed the position, my body would tense up and I would get this like tightness in my chest. Like I couldn't get a good breath in. I couldn't get a good deep breath into my diaphragm. And it was just like I couldn't breathe past shallow until I would get through the end of the exercise. Well, this last one, it was like I could feel so much pulsing and all of this energy moving through my heart and through my chest and through my heart chakra. And I was feeling it move and break that tension, but I was also getting so woozy and nauseous. It was like I thought I had to like end the session about a minute or two early because I thought I was just gonna throw up. But yeah, a lot processed out of me, and I felt very differently afterwards, and work was good and today was good, but I've been like exhausted. I've been spacey. I've been so thirsty. I could drink like 20 gallons of water right now. But my point being is that when we're doing these, all of this like soul searching and the work of getting to these hidden limiting beliefs, and you know, I mean, these are beliefs like that really take a toll on your life and the way that you have experienced life and the way that you feel about yourself and the way that you feel about other people and the way that they feel about you and the way that you perceive the world. And so, you know, they sound benign, but they're really like steering the ship a lot of the time. And so if you have a limiting belief that you're not even aware of that is like hiding inside that says, I'm not worthy, I don't matter, my needs don't matter, everyone else's, you know, they matter, and I'll fight for them, but I won't fight for myself because I don't think I'm worthy, or I think I'm inherently wrong, or should be shameful, you know, or I'm, you know, inadequate, so I'm not safe to show my emotions, or, you know, I'm not safe to have feelings because my needs don't matter, and all of these core beliefs that lead to so many, well, if I am not worthy, therefore this or that. And so I've, you know, been talking about these things with so many people lately about our, like, these realizations that that are just coming into light, and just knowing about those and making the connections, I think, makes such a difference. But it's a difficult process because you may not, like, while you're journaling all these things out and automatic writing, like, a lot of stuff comes out, and sometimes you get emotional in that moment, and that's good to let that process and like really lean in and embrace it. But then you'll get emotional in other moments where you're not expecting it. Like, I don't know, for me, it's like, where do you fit in this emotion, like in the shower while you're getting ready for work? Like, you still have to go like hunt your bread down, you know? You gotta show up. And so I've just been like sort of like weeping it out in the mornings, like in spontaneous little moments, and then I'll be fine. And then like later in the day I'll be exhilarated, and then like suddenly I'll be like enraged, and it's like this like grief process is just coming out, but like it's not like you know when it's gonna happen or whatever. But I feel lighter every time it does, and so it feels good. It feels like it's really digesting and being processed. But I think that's the big theme for this week, is just to allow yourself the process, allow yourself to be witnessing these patterns that come up, and try to connect them with those beliefs and try to follow them back as far as you can. And then, you know, maybe do some writing and journaling about it, but then also give yourself some time in between to just let it integrate, and, you know, do some things that are healthy for yourself. You know, eat some good nourishing food, ground all of that in, drink a lot of water, treat yourself to like maybe a nice hot bath, a nice salt bath or something, or a nice walk in the woods. I just love long walks because it lets your mind wander, it lets you process and like kind of like mull it over and process it out. But I think that the walking with it just lets you stay in the moment and leave the past as you walk away from it, you know? But yeah, some notes on processing emotion and transmuting our pain and our old self and our old limiting beliefs and our old patterns and the misconceptions that we picked up, you know, that society implanted, that, you know, generational wounds have been handed down and implanted. I mean, some things we carry in our DNA, you know, from generations before. So a lot to dig up. But we have Duck, and this particular deck is so unique that I always include the author's message, and then I elaborate on that. But like, she's so poetic about it that I feel that every word is important and could have an oracle within it. So I always read from her booklet no matter what. I had to burp. Pizza. Gorgeous. Okay. Let me hold this up for you so you can look at it. I also like the illustrations. They're so unique and whimsical and strange. Like, do y'all see the boob in that tree? And I'm like, did they mean for a boob to be in that tree? But then like there's always like a face, like the spirit face, like hidden, and then there's always like, it's always like part person, part bird. So it's like merging with like the spirit of the animal, like taking on their cloak, I guess, and their talisman, their power, or their, you know, their strengths, their lessons. Interesting. Okay, Duck. I am Duck, the complexity of emotion. I am the master of the undercurrents. I am the healing of the heart. I am the surge of inner motivations. You need to be more aware of what drives you. What feelings are pushing you forward? Which ones are drowning your progress? I'm a creature of navigational purpose. You have to learn when to dive deeper and when to gently skim the surface. I am the equalizer of polarities. Let yourself balance the rush of subconscious flow with the peace of equilibrium. Allow the experience of emotional catharsis, but do not forget to release the heavy entanglements. Feel your responses, but do not become overwhelmed. I am progress. I am growth. There is great healing in the waters. You are cathartic. You are exploring the depths. You are fluidity. You are Duck. So yeah, we're getting to the bottom of like what are really our driving motivators, you know, what causes us to choose to behave in, you know, one way versus another, or choose one way versus another, or respond, you know, one way versus another. So, and what we're attracting, you know, what we're calling in, you know, versus, because our subconscious is really what's putting out the signal. And so if we don't correct that, we're just going to be swatting away a lot of like unwanted, like, you know, we're a bright light, right? So we want to like, you know, reduce the amount of unwanted pests gathering around the light. But the thing is, you can't really, you know, you can't do that. So you have to learn how to be, you know, a better judge of, you know, what's coming at you. And the only way to do that is to start getting to these, like, to the bottom of these inner child wounds, these stored traumas, these limiting beliefs, these negative behavioral and emotional patterns, you know, that hold you back. And I think that the more you become aware of them, the more you have dominion over them, and the more that you have sovereignty. But yeah, there's something else in here. I really do feel like it's very, very vital that we learn to not look outside of ourselves for others to make you feel worthy or like you're right or wrong, or to validate you, or to give you permission to exist, or to be the way that you are, or anything like that. So many people have been told that they are inherently wrong for the way that they are, the way that, you know, that is their nature. So wrong that it's, you know, forbidden, of the devil, you know, they're evil, they're, you know, perverse or whatever. And they've been told that by people who have been told that by others and been told that by others, and they bought like the big, you know, they fell for the trick. They fell for the oppression. They fell for all of the ways that society wants to control and tell you who to be and what to be and how to live. And those people are so mad when they see other people being free and being who they truly are and showing up as their most authentic selves, because they themselves aren't free. And they themselves are not living their authentic life. And so they look at other people and they're mad because they're angry that they're following all the rules, but they have no sense of like fulfillment, you know? They're fearful, they're in line and they're behaving, but they get really upset when other people don't step in line too. And so don't ever wait for someone else to validate you, to tell you that you're worthy, because that means that if they don't think that you're worthy, then they can take that away from you as well. So you hold on to that power, you hold on to your sovereignty, and you never give it away, because you are worthy and you do matter and you're needed and you have work to do here. And because you've been suppressed and oppressed and put upon by others, you have a message that is more powerful than theirs, because you've overcome something and you have compassion and you understand what it's like to not just be welcomed by life with open arms and served everything you want on a silver platter. You understand that things are more complex than that, and so that makes you more tuned in as a human being and more understanding. So for people who have been struggling, I know that Pride there was a lot of intense emotion hanging around this weekend because of all the political things going on. I know it was triggering for a lot of my friends and people, and but yeah, don't let the dark side tell you how to feel about yourself ever. No, never again, ever. I don't know how I got on that, went down that rabbit hole, but I just felt like it needed to come through that, like, no one gives you validation. You're already valid by being here. You're worthy, and you matter. Getting to the bottom of what's driving us. Oh yeah, that's right. And what's pushing us forward? What has our operating system been programmed with, and where are these viruses hiding? And then, I was going to point out the whole, you have to learn when to dive deeper and when to gently skim the surface. And that's part of what we were talking about earlier, is that you know, if you go real heavy and real deep, let yourself process that for a couple of days, and just, you know, don't do too much at once. You don't want to open everything and be completely raw. You still have to be able to function in the world. So, you know, just let yourself do a little bit at a time. And, try not to dwell, you know, like let yourself ponder and let the insights come through. But once there's not any more information coming through, like don't keep dwelling and getting yourself upset about it again. You know how like sometimes we'll think about things, we'll get upset, and then we'll start having like imaginary arguments and conversations that don't exist. Like don't go all the way to like dramatizing, just, or unless you're dramatizing it in a way that like makes it a healthier experience than it was, and maybe saying what you wish you'd said, but like in a healthy way. But like don't get worked up in your mind where you're like feeding on anger, you know, and resentment, and like dwelling on something that you can't let go of and process. Just give yourself time to reintegrate and level out again before you go back in. Yeah, allow the experience of emotional catharsis, but do not forget to release the heavy entanglements. And it's just like, let it process, like digestion, but yeah, don't hang on to the suffering. Just let it move through you. Let it move through you, and then do something good afterwards to shake yourself out of that energy. Maybe do some physical activity if you can, or if you can't, maybe just a good hot bath will help you sweat some of this through your system. All right, you guys, well, I'm going to get off here and drink like 20 gallons of water because I'm thirsty after pizza, and probably watch Father Ted because I'm really cozy in Craggy Island right now. I'm like loving the rainy Irish vibe. All right, y'all, see you tomorrow for the new moon in Cancer workshop. Yay. And my uploads have been really slow, so hopefully it's not going to take a million years to upload, but I'll try to film it earlier in the day so that it can at least be up by the evening, hopefully. All right, you guys, be good but not too good. Ta-ta.